time to pull up a chair. We've got another great story for you today in the rLounge. Not everyone is cut out to be a mother. Some people nurture and guide, and some people open Microsoft Excel and try to turn your entire childhood into a balance sheet. This mom, she clearly skipped the Parenting 101 class, but mastered every formula in Excel. Today on our space, why nurture a child when you can invoice them instead? Mom said I owed her my bonus because she raised me, so I bought out her mortgage and sold it from under her. I got a $75,000 bonus last week. It was completely unexpected. The project I'd been working on for the past 8 months saved the company millions, but I never thought they'd actually share any of that with me. When I saw the deposit hit my account, I literally had to sit down. This was life-changing money for me. My first instinct was to text my mom. Despite our complicated relationship, I still wanted to share the good news with her. Big mistake. Within minutes of sending the text, my phone was ringing. She congratulated me, but the conversation quickly shifted to her problems. "That's wonderful, honey. You know, I've been having some issues with the mortgage lately." I should have seen it coming. Every conversation with her eventually circles back to her financial problems. The next day, she showed up at my apartment. I live about 40 minutes from her, so this wasn't just a casual drop-by. She had an agenda. For the next hour, she explained how she was 3 months behind on mortgage payments, totaling about $12,000. The bank was threatening foreclosure. Then came the kicker. She said, "I think you should give me half of your bonus. I raised you. I sacrificed everything for you. This is the least you can do." When I didn't immediately agree, she started bringing up specific memories from my childhood. How she worked 2 jobs after Dad left. How she skipped meals so I could eat. How she never took vacations so I could have school supplies. I told her I'd think about it, mostly to end the uncomfortable conversation. She left seeming satisfied, but I felt sick to my stomach. 2 days later, she texted, "Have you made a decision yet?" I replied that I was still considering options. That's when things escalated. She sent a group text to our extended family saying I was refusing to help my own mother. My phone blew up with messages from aunts, uncles, and cousins I barely speak to, all telling me what a selfish person I was. My cousin forwarded me a screenshot from Mom's Facebook post. "It's sad when your children become successful and forget where they came from. Some people don't understand what family means anymore." That was frustrating, but I decided not to engage publicly. Instead, I agreed to meet with her when she called crying about the bank's final notice. At the coffee shop, she pulled out a printed spreadsheet. It was titled, "Investment in My Child," and listed every expense she could remember or imagine spending on me throughout my life. Diapers, $2,500. School lunches, $15,000. Clothes, $20,000. Emotional labor, priceless. The total at the bottom was some made-up figure of $215,000. She pointed to it and said, "I'm only asking for $45,000 of your bonus. That's not even a quarter of what you owe me." "Owe you? For raising me? Isn't that what parents are supposed to do?" She got defensive and started talking about how ungrateful I was. I noticed her designer purse sitting next to her, her fresh manicure, and the newest iPhone on the table. When I asked her about spending habits, she stood up and stormed out, saying I was attacking her instead of helping. Later that day, I got a message from an old friend who still lives in my hometown. She told me my mom had been at the local bar the night before, bragging about getting her hands on my money and talking about plans for a Caribbean cruise and a kitchen remodel. Nothing about mortgage problems. I called my younger sibling, who still lives with Mom. What they told me confirmed my suspicion. Yes, Mom was behind on the mortgage, but it wasn't because of any emergency or hardship. She'd been shopping excessively, dating a new guy who encouraged her spending, and generally living beyond her means. My siblings sent photos of recent purchases, an 85-inch TV, designer clothes, expensive alcohol, all while supposedly being unable to pay her mortgage. I decided to do some digging. I contacted Mom's mortgage company, pretending to be interested in buying distressed properties. I learned her house was indeed in pre-foreclosure. The balance remaining was $178,000 and the current market value was approximately $320,000. That's when an idea started to form. I met with a financial advisor to discuss options and learned I could use my bonus as a down payment to purchase Mom's mortgage from the bank. I would essentially become her lender, with all the legal rights that entailed. My advisor warned me that this was extremely unconventional and could destroy our relationship. But honestly, what relationship? All she saw was when she looked at me was a dollar sign. She called again. This time, she was threatening to tell everyone that I abandoned her in her time of need. She claimed she'd already told people I promised to help and had even put a deposit down on the kitchen remodel because she knew I would help. When I asked about the cruise she was planning, she hung up. That sealed it for me. I contacted the bank about purchasing Mom's mortgage. There was initial confusion. This isn't something people typically do, but eventually I was connected with the right department. I began the paperwork process, using $70,000 of my bonus as a down payment and financing the remaining amount. 10 days later, the paperwork was finalized. I was now effectively my mother's mortgage holder. The bank sent her a notification of the mortgage transfer. She called me frantically, leaving voicemails, asking what was happening. I didn't answer. I knew she'd show up eventually. Sure enough, the next day she was at my apartment again, demanding an explanation. I explained that I had bought her mortgage to help her out. The relief on her face was immediate. She thought I was going to simply forgive the debt. Then I clarified that I expected regular payments according to the original terms. Her expression changed as she realized what this meant. I now controlled her housing situation. "This is cruel," she said. "This isn't what I meant by helping." I told her that I'm just being a good son. I'm contributing to the family. I sent a formal notice that the first mortgage payment was due on the 1st of the next month, including a detailed breakdown of the payment schedule. She didn't respond, but my sibling texted saying she was freaking out, canceling the cruise and kitchen remodel. When the first of the month came, I received no payment. I sent a reminder text. She replied that she needed more time and asked, "How could you do this to your own mother?" 4 days later, still no payment. I sent a formal notice of late payment, including the fee schedule for continued delinquency. After another 5 days with no payment, I contacted a real estate agent to discuss selling the house. I learned I could legally sell the property after 90 days of non-payment. I began preparing the necessary paperwork and informed Mom via text that I was initiating sale proceedings due to non-payment. She sent a barrage of texts claiming I was ruining her life and "How could you do that to your own mother?" 4 days later, I received offers from 3 investors interested in purchasing the property. I accepted the highest offer, $195,000 for the mortgage, which would allow the buyer to foreclose and take the property. The buyer understood the situation and agreed to give Mom 60 days to vacate after foreclosure. 5 days later, the paperwork was finalized for the sale of the mortgage. I made $25,000 profit after paying off what I financed. Mom received official notice from the new mortgage holder. My sibling called to say she was in shock and finally realizing actions have consequences. I posted the story on Reddit, asking if I was the a-hole for what I did. The story went viral with mixed responses, but the majority supported my actions. Several family members who had initially criticized me went silent after learning the full story. Throughout this whole process, I kept thinking about all the times growing up when Mom would tell me that actions have consequences. She'd say it whenever I made a mistake or broke a rule. It seems she never applied that principle to herself. Some people might think I went too far. The family should always come first no matter what. But family works both ways. It's not a one-way street where one person gives and the other only takes. The entitlement she showed, the idea that I somehow owed her for doing what parents are supposed to do, was what pushed me over the edge. The spreadsheet of expenses particularly got to me, as if raising a child is just a financial transaction, an investment with expected returns. That's not parenting, that's a business arrangement, and I never signed that contract. I don't feel guilty about what I did. If anything, I feel relieved. The constant financial pressure, the emotional manipulation, the public shaming, it's all over now. She'll have to find someone else to fund her lifestyle because it won't be me. My sibling understands. They've seen firsthand how she operates, how she uses guilt and obligation to get what she wants. They're actually proud of me for standing up to her, for refusing to be manipulated. So no, I don't think I'm the a-hole in this situation. I think I finally stood up for myself against someone who has been taking advantage of me for years. And if that makes me the bad guy in her story, I can live with that. Update. It's been 2 months since my mom's eviction and almost 4 months since the whole situation began. I wasn't planning on posting another update, but enough has happened that I thought it might provide some closure for those following the saga. Mom has been bouncing between relatives' homes since the eviction, wearing out her welcome at each place. She stayed with my aunt for 3 weeks before being asked to leave after borrowing my aunt's credit card to buy $800 worth of clothes. Then she moved to my uncle's place, but only lasted 2 weeks there when she started inviting her friends over for wine nights while my uncle and his wife were at work. She tried staying with my grandparents, but they're in their 80s and couldn't handle her drama. My cousin let her crash on his couch for exactly 4 days before she complained about his substandard living conditions. He has 3 roommates and a small apartment. No one is willing to house her long term after learning the truth about her financial habits. She's now renting a small 1-bedroom apartment about 40 minutes from her old house. My sibling told me that Mom has been telling a revised version of the story to anyone who will listen. Now she claims she always intended to pay me back for any financial help and that I misunderstood her intentions. She's saying she just needed a temporary loan to get back on her feet, and I overreacted by taking her house. Few people believe her anymore. especially after my siblings' slideshow presentation at the family meeting. My aunt shared that 10 years ago, Mom convinced my grandfather to add her name to his bank account so she could help manage his finances. Within 6 months, nearly $20,000 had disappeared. The family kept it quiet to protect Grandpa from embarrassment, and Mom promised to pay it back eventually. She never did. A distant cousin, who initially criticized me on social media, sent a message last week. Mom had approached them for a temporary loan of $5,000, promising to pay it back. As soon as my son returns what he stole. When my cousin declined, Mom blew up at them, saying the family was conspiring against her. The family is now universally aware of her tactics. My sibling is doing great living with me. They're focused on finishing school and have mentioned feeling relieved to be away from Mom's constant drama and financial chaos. We've established a good routine, and it's nice having family around who doesn't see me as a walking ATM. As for me, I've invested the remainder of my bonus and the profit from the mortgage sale. My financial advisor helped me set up a solid plan that should provide good returns over time. I've had time to reflect on this whole situation, and while I don't regret my actions, I do sometimes feel bad about how things turned out. Not because I think I made the wrong choice, but because I wish I'd had the kind of mother who wouldn't have put me in this situation to begin with. The kind who would have been proud of my bonus rather than seeing it as her opportunity. Some people have suggested I should try to reconcile with Mom for my own peace of mind. But I've realized that peace doesn't always come from reconciliation. Sometimes it comes from accepting that a relationship is unhealthy and setting firm boundaries, even if that boundary is no contact at all. I don't know what the future holds for my relationship with my mom. Maybe someday she'll genuinely recognize her behavior and make real changes. Maybe not. Either way, I'm no longer putting my life on hold, waiting for that to happen. That spreadsheet alone is enough to make anyone's jaw drop. Raising a child isn't a business deal, and she clearly forgot that. That spreadsheet? Pure narcissist energy. Priceless emotional labor? Please. The audacity to try and turn your entire childhood into a debit memo while she's rocking a designer purse and a fresh manicure? I'm screaming. And the best part? She literally couldn't wait to spin it on the rest of the family like she was the victim. And the fact she thought it would actually work is laughable. Buying her mortgage, turning her supposed hardship into a legally binding lesson in consequences? Honestly, good on you. She wanted a free ride on your success? Too bad, Mom. Looks like the free ride's over. Did you have parents like this? Share your stories with us in the comments. And thank you for joining us today in the rLounge. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time. And please put your chair back where you found it.